check, when you're
exactly
walk in on your
hand check, hands
when you
up.
walk in on your son and daughter, hand check with their dates.
Exactly. So pocket dump what you have on your person, and obviously you can be very critical about what you carry. It can be very minimal, or it can be you have cargo pants just absolutely full, pockets all the way full of everything you might have. For me, I'm not that picky. That's why I have a bag. That's why I have a vehicle. That's why I have resources all around me instead of always carrying a go bag. I don't like the bug out bag, but that's another thing on my list is, do you have a go bag? My go bag is my briefcase, my bag, my work bag. And I have a bag here just for my AR. I grab it and it's ready to go.
Yep.
So
a really good beginner
life
go
begins
bag,
to change that way.
A really good beginner go bag they talk a lot about as a 72-hour kit. That's a great way to go. You can buy them at most stores nowadays. And then if that's all you have, that's all you can start with, do it.
No,
you've got
no.
I knew Scott was going to chime in on this.
No, the number one killer in preparedness is buying one of those piece of garbage bags at the survival stores, the red bags.
Because you think that's what you need.
Right. 90% of it, you have no idea what it is. You don't know how to use it. Don't start with that bag. Get a nondescript bag. These are big, bright red bags. Get a nondescript bag, a gray bag, a blue bag. Like, I don't care. Go to Goodwill and get the cheapest bag.
It could be a backpack, from your
absolutely.
And that's what it should be, is a
backpack. Yep.
Get a backpack. And you don't want to fill it with 30 pounds, 40 pounds worth of stuff. Start with your emergency rules. I first need to have, so I have my bag. I need to put a shelter in there. All it needs to be is a tarp or a poncho.
Or your jacket, just a jacket.
Gore-Tex
jacket.
Right? Yep. Doesn't need to be much. Like, don't go crazy. And don't be like, I got a specialized tube tent. It's 14 pounds, 3 ounces. Like, that, why?
And you'll use it once and it'll get ruined. And just like Scott's saying, those kits are made to sell. They're cheap. Oh, look, all I can do this and feel prepared. And you spend $49.95 on it, and you'll use the tube tent once, it'll tear and it's done. But like Scott's saying, put together, and I think that's why I'm also saying is figure out what knife you like, figure out which light you like. This is part of your go bag, your 72-hour, or I know Scott will push this, the 96-hour is really where it should be, but it should be quality items that you've put together yourself, that you have experience using, you know how to use, and that you're competent with. And Scott,
that leads into some skill set stuff, but let me just wrap up real quick on the beginner stuff. If you're just getting started, you're brand new, first thing you want to do is assess your situation. Look at the area where you live, make sure that you have, if anything happens, make sure you're ready to go with whatever weather is available or whatever weather happens to you in your area. Make sure you have your water, make sure you have some extra food, make sure you have a little bit of a go bag, maybe some everyday carry, a pocket knife, flashlight. Those are some of the first things you should get. And then we can start looking into getting a bag, get your 72-hour kit built up, but based on the things that you know about. So let's take a few minutes now and talk about some of the skill sets like you were talking about. I'm brand new at this. I don't know anything about anything. What are some of the first skills that I should learn, or that I should maybe put together to learn? As I put together a list of different skills, what are some of those lists that I would put together? For me, the first one would be learning how to use my 72-hour equipment. If I'm going to go get that stuff, I need to learn how to use it. Learn how to use a pocket knife. Go take a knife safety course if you need to. It sounds like it's silly, but you know what? You can hurt yourself with a knife if you don't know what you're doing. Especially if you're whittling away, cutting away. There's some nuances. I was in Boy Scouts. I got my whittling chip every year. I had to pass that off before I could start doing anything in the campgrounds. And the next list I'd put on my list would be first aid. So what do you guys think?
You mean your totem chip?
Yeah, totem chip. Sorry, whittling chip, totem chip. Yeah.
Are you even a scout? I mean, come on. Yeah, I think that's important. I think number one is first aid. Well, number two, right? Close second to me is first is know the gear you have, right? Second is first aid, because and that goes into also that it's hard because it's like there's the physical first aid and then there's the mental first aid, and that goes into the mindset, and we'll talk about that later. But like really understanding the basics. Go get CPR certified. It's free. There's so many amazing first aid courses that are free. Like you can go to Shield Safety. They've got stuff that they do for free all the time, right? There's a couple channels on YouTube we can tag later, but there's so many good resources on basic first aid, understanding how to do a tourniquet, like you're going to come across some weird scenarios, how to treat for shock, right? Those are the things you're going to have to be prepared for most with skill sets on the first aid side. Applying a Band-Aid, everybody knows how to do, right? But like get a little bit deeper into understanding the basics of first aid.
Well, for me, I go back to, again, go to the survival rules of 3, and that's kind of where I start my skills again. Okay, so if you don't know how to build a shelter, then that's probably a skill you should learn, right? Whether it's just with a tarp or a tent or whatever. So if you feel that's a void, start there. Next is water. If you don't know where to find water out in the wild, in the city, I mean, wherever, that's probably something you should learn. And that's another thing I have in my EDC is a small water filter, right? Because you can't carry much water with you. Water bottles part of that as well. So part of those skills all revolve around the survival rules of 3. And then of course, food, to learn how to forage for food in the wild. That's pretty cool. It's very difficult. That takes a lot of time. So you might as well get started learning about it now. Right.
Have you guys watched Alone?
Yeah.
I think that is like one of the best places for people to start when they want to look at how do I forage? How do I
we don't want to scare them off too much,
right?
Though.
Well, no, because that's the most extreme element, right?
So and most people like they go the 3 weeks and they're like, I'm done because they can't do it.
Yeah.
And they put you in the absolute like worst spot they can find. They're like, where are there no resources?
That's what we'll do next show.
Icy tundra. All right, there's a snowshoe hare, 1 per every 15 miles, and we're going to place everybody within 3 miles of each other. What? Like that's kind of what it's like. And so understanding those, I mean, those are amazing skills, like how to actually set up all the different ways to catch and snare these animals. I mean, you could buy kits that are really
practice,
great.
Man, that takes some serious practice.
Lots of practice. I mean, these are wilderness survival skills. Mm-hmm. And you like where I live, I could do it in my front yard or my backyard. Mm-hmm. Like I've got raccoons. I've also got skunks. I don't want to snare one of those, but we've got lynx. We've got bobcats. We've got cougars. I don't want to snare those either. Right. So you got to be like thoughtful and understand what's in your area as you start looking at these different skills. But like foraging, there's so many different things you can find that you can eat. But you got to get the books. You got to understand your area and where you are.
Yeah. And I think that's the key there, Scott, is that realizing where you find yourself most of the time.
Yeah.
And I think most people find themselves in urban or suburban areas or downtown. And that takes a different set of skills to figure out how to survive. And, part of my survival rules of 3, number 4 is actually safety. And so what does that really mean? That means being able to defend or protect yourself, right? So that's where, learning how to use one of these comes in and all the nuances with it as well. I mean, that's a huge topic and take an entire day to discuss. But
for those of you who are listening, Shane is showing things. So you'll have to jump on our YouTube channel or our Rumble channel or one of our visual channels to see what he's showing.
And they're blending in with my background, so they're not showing very well.
We got to get you an actual static background soon.
Yes.
So that you can show us your cool gadgets, like your flashlight and your pew stick, your boomstick, right? It's actually not a boomstick. It's a boom.
We got to be careful what we say on YouTube for the
right.
That's right. Not disclose too much information. So,
but yeah, it's like understand your skills, understand what are your strengths, play to your strengths, but also assess your group and look at who has different skill sets within your group, and maybe you give people different specialties. Mm-hmm. Like my wife is the most ridiculously organized person I know, so when it comes to putting our lists together and documenting everything, we have like an amazing inventory of everything we have. And it's because of her. And we've got it in multiple locations. And every time I pull a can of anything, if I do not list it on the replenishment list, I get not just scolded, but I get dirty looks.
You're busted, bro.
And I'm like, I get ranked down pretty fast. They're like, boom, you're out. Drop and give me 50 push-ups. Like she'll let me have it. And that's so cool. Find the strengths that you work well with and really build those things. If you're more about shelter, get really good at shelter, right? Maybe your house or your car or something else is going to work for now, but if you find yourself away from those things, practice. Find a place to practice and get used to building those types of things. If you didn't grow up in Boy Scouts, right, or Girl Scouts, or if you didn't grow up doing the wilderness survival types of things, go practice.
Yeah.
Because you can build some pretty great things once you learn how.
One of the things I was going to say too is that it's when you're in an emergency situation, you might not be able to find the lighter or the scripto. You're going to have to learn how to start a fire on your own, and that might be your only source of heat. So make sure you have plenty of flint and steel. You know how to use it. You know how to get those fire starters up and running. You know what kindling to use. You know what's what's flammable, what's not. You know how to put the fire in a place that's not going to, extend and sparks going to light the rest of your house on fire, the rest of your shelter on fire. There's some things, genuine things to practice. And I've actually had an opportunity where I get my kids out. I'm like, hey, you guys, let's start a fire. Let's see how you can do it. And we've had some pretty fun experiences doing that with the family, just teaching the kids how to start a fire with barely any kind of thing. Yeah, anybody can start a fire with some lighter fluid and a scripto, but it's a skill set to be able to start a fire anywhere else.
Yeah, that's the easy part, is make it as easy as possible, right? Yes, it's nice to know how to start a fire with flint and steel or with a bow drill or whatever, but why not just stick a lighter in your pocket or have a lighter in your go bag, right? Make it easy. And then it gets a little harder if you're outside and it's rainy and wet, and then you got to find tinder. I mean, that takes some experience and some knowledge to learn as well. So make it as easy as possible on you, and just have those things with you. But also I wanted to mention a few things, and Scott had started to bring that up a little bit, is that, and I'll just dig right into it. It's fitness, being healthy and in shape. And we're talking about skills. You can't practice a lot of these skills that you need to survive unless you have the health and the fitness that you need. So that's one of the things I had on my list, my show notes, and that I was prepping for, is survival rules of 3, fitness. Like I said, the survival rules of 3 involves a lot of different things. And then onto one statement that I've always taken as kind of it's kind of an insult, like, oh, you're a jack of all trades, right? You don't know how to do anything specific. You're not good at anything, right? But the actual entire statement is jack of all trades, master of none, but most of the time better than a master of one. So it's a compliment rather than an insult.
A jack of all trades is a master of none, but still always better than a master of one.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is, if you know how to do a lot of things, you're 100 times more valuable than if you only know how to do one thing. Mm-hmm. Really, it doesn't matter how well you know that one thing. Mm-hmm. And I love that you brought that up, because a lot of people feel unequipped or unable to do a lot of things because they don't ill-equipped. Thank you. Because they're not an expert in something. You don't have to be.
You can definitely work toward that on something in particular. I've got a buddy. He's an expert on bushcrafting and shelter building and fire building, those types of things. And I would say he's a master on that. But I put him into maybe an urban environment. He can still do fine, but it's a more of a weakness for him. So, so that's why I wanted to bring that up, is trying to be well-rounded in your skills, rather than, like Scott was saying, focusing on something that keeps you from, limits your knowledge on other things. And especially being a prepper, there's so many aspects of preparedness that you'll never touch on if you're trying to focus on just one here and there.
Right. Absolutely.
Anyway.
Yeah, I think so. I think that is a pretty good start for the skill set section. And just to kind of recap, make sure that you get together, get a list down of things that you feel like you want to learn and know about, and start working on them one at a time. The more that you know, the better. And you can be really good at one, but make sure that you're kind of dabbling in everything so that you can be an asset and a resource to anybody and everybody, and to yourself, more importantly. And we've kind of had a lead in already to the mindset. And this, after you have some skills, having that right mindset to build, to be able to survive a situation is critical. And your mindset changes everything. That's one thing that I've said for many years, and I absolutely believe, is that when you have a belief system that you can do it, when you have a belief system that it's possible for you, then you'll find a way. If you don't even believe it's possible, if you don't even have a belief that you can do anything or survive anything, you're probably going to look for the problems and everything, and you won't survive. mentality is, and mental toughness is probably one of the key things in any preparedness, in any survival situation. Would you guys agree?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is in